Okay. Hi. Um, One similarity that I noticed was the importance of self-discovery, and the students being able to take ownership and finding the connection between what they are writing or problem solving to something in the real world. Many of the qualities of best practice in teaching writing mention choice and ownership and making a connections between what they're being asked to do in class and what is happening in their worlds. So to me, that implies there's a huge piece about building relationships and really knowing who your students are rather than creating just a blanket curriculum and expecting all students to learn the same, which is something that I know our district has struggled with, and I'm sure other districts struggle with, is that we want to create these lessons thinking that we're creating, like, this is fun, the kids will enjoy doing this. But does that necessarily mean that they're having the opportunity to take ownership of the material and connect it to whatever's going on in their own life? On page 59 of best practice, um, Zemelman, Daniels, and Hyde state that meaningful writing tasks bridge the cognitive demands of school and the issue of students' culture and developing personalities. And even though they strictly state writing, uh, meaningful writing tasks, I feel like that was one thing that can go for all all content areas, um, because we're supporting them in forming their ideas, not just about school, but about concepts and skills. So if I have a math teacher who's just giving me worksheets after worksheets after worksheet, and it never is applied to my life, then I might form these ideas about math not being important. And it's just something that you do on a worksheet and never really understanding how it's applied to my life. Um, on page 89, they state that students must truly create their own way of interpreting an idea, relating it to their own personal experiences, seeing how it fits in with what they already know, and how they are thinking about related ideas. This is another one that's huge across any content area, is that we need the opportunity, or students need the opportunity to form their own ideas and opinions because they're doing it anyway. So, how are we taking their formed ideas and opinions and what they already know, um, into really understanding the content or the concept or the skill? I feel like that's more our job as teachers, is to support them in that learning and understanding. So to me, that kind of guides me into the shift from it's my job as a teacher to teach them all these things that I know, which has, I feel like, has kind of been the mindset for a while, to my job as a teacher is to create experiences to help students understand how these concepts and skills apply to their lives. Um, Another similarity that I noticed is that both best practices for writing and math is that problem solving seems to be everywhere. It's just one of those skills that students need in everything. So it needs to be okay for students to make mistakes and learn from trial and error rather than you make a mistake, you get a bad grade, and then you're terrified. I love, there's a quote on page 91 that states that problem solving should be a process that permeates the curriculum and provides context in which concepts and skills are learned. So, again, like I said previously, it's not our job as teachers to provide all the information and answers and just teach them or like regurgitate what we know. They need the opportunity to have like some productive struggle with concepts and skills. So, it's okay for them to not understand it after our one lesson or after the unit, that we need to make sure that we're giving them time and space to figure some of these concepts out on their own with our support. So I feel like if we can create a place for students to ask questions and take risks, then we can truly say we're creating a safe learning environment. Um, I've already mentioned many similar concepts, but I feel like skills such as problem solving and critical thinking, and allowing students to take ownership, those are skills that can be applied through all curriculum, every content area, every course. Um, I think the key here is that teachers need to be willing to incorporate those soft skills into their learning experiences so that we're giving students those opportunities. Much later on in the book, on page 220, Zimmelman, Daniels, and Hyde mentioned that teachers need to recreate their own understanding of how learning can work for children, and they need to be involved in decision making. So I think this is a huge shift. How I talked earlier about teaching versus learning, but teachers still need to feel empowerment about what's happening in the walls of their classroom. And again, I go back to, it's all about building those relationships and knowing who the kids are that are in your class, in order to really support them in their learning.